Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload we'll be talking about a potential for a system that could drop actually snow across the southern United States, but also a good portion of the East Coast. There's still a lot of variables that are undetermined, and we'll just have to watch as the models start kind of zoning in on that. But for now, the threat is there. It's definitely has grown from yesterday. More models are showing different things. So if you guys, before we get into this, if you guys would like to support this channel, you could do so by subscribing. You could check out the other videos, and if you like this video, giving it a like will also help out a lot. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments so I could possibly answer them. All right, so let's get started. All right, so let's start off by looking at the GFS parallel model. So this is the improved GFS model, and it's been doing a relatively good job. I would say better than the regular operational GFS model. Let's look at this GFS version 16. Right, so we notice that right now there's not a lot of activity. We do have a big system with a lot of activity across the northwest and southwestern Canada, but again, that's really confined to the coastal areas, not a big storm inland. However, as we push towards overnight into tomorrow, we do see that spread, right? And we also see a system begin to more develop, gets more energy associated from really the Gulf of Mexico and the remaining bits of precip it has from the Pacific Ocean, as this is the storm that made its way onto the coast about a day or two ago. And now it is, again, kind of torn up by the mountains, but it's still there, remaining enough. It will drop a bit of snow across South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, notice right there, into Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, right? And this low pressure is pretty strong. The low pressure is not really strong, but the moisture with this system is really abundant. So this will be dropping quite a bit of rainfall, a bit of snow as well across Iowa, Nebraska, and into portions of Missouri and Arkansas. And that is kind of a bit iffy. There's a lot of models that show some isolated pockets of maybe up to 8 inches of snow, and I wouldn't say that's out of the question, as with these events, it's not looking widespread, but they're often hard to predict, and sometimes if the temperatures are just, marginal, that snow that transitions could occur for a few hours, and it's going to be falling heavily, and that could obviously accumulate. And at the same time, that doesn't have to occur, as it could just fall as rain if the temperatures are just a few degrees warmer. At this point, it looks as if it's definitely a possibility for some in Missouri to see some snow into Arkansas and Oklahoma. Notice this thing takes on a cold front, but it doesn't really intensify. Notice it's 1007, 1006, and then 1008. So really just staying stagnant. Notice this is where it does get interesting. A bit of snow across the southern United States into Tennessee. Portions of northern Alabama and Georgia could see some snow. Notice into the Carolinas, Virginia. Look at that, North Carolina seeing a good amount of snow across, early Friday afternoon of the 8th. It does not track up the East Coast. It's looking less and less likely to do so. But notice right there into southeastern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina, we do see a bit of that snowfall, maybe even heavily falling at certain hours on late Friday, early Saturday morning. But then again, moving pretty close to the coast, but not close enough to become a nor'easter of any concern for the United States into southeastern Canada. That definitely could be a concern, but really it doesn't look too significant even for the more imminent areas across southeastern Canada. Maybe once it gets up into far into Labrador, Newfoundland. Notice what we quickly see is a system that is moving its way onto the shore right now, or will be in the next, really around that Thursday time frame. Notice it's really this system, and that kind of drops its energy, mixes again with the Gulf of Mexico, right? And the European, with this system, you can see the GFS parallel does develop a system. The European develops a nor'easter out of this, and it's a honking nor'easter. It's a big one. It could drop a lot of snow. Now, you can see the GFS parallel doesn't see signs of that whatsoever. It just takes us off the coast, a weak system. Even if this were to be closer, it's not that strong, and notice that just comes off. What all models do agree on, and this is what I was talking about for the past few days, is a cold and more active pattern as we get towards the middle part of January, which is 12th right now, what we are forecasted at right here. Notice what we start seeing is a more of flow from the north and west oriented, so that would obviously bring in more of that Canadian air, we do see a lot of Clipper systems potentially starting to develop. You can see there's one, there's another one, maybe combining with the Atlantic Ocean moisture, the help of the Atlantic Ocean to combine or to make one nor'easter, maybe even two. There's each model is showing something different, but very active to say the least. And notice even another storm towards the south, towards the north, and another one in the south. Very, very cold air according to the GFS parallel. And again, most models advocate for that. So let's just take it out to around 150, where we see that second snowstorm threat kind of dissipate. And let's take a look at the total snowfall through that time, all right? So let's take a look at our 156 and take a glance at the total snowfall. Again, this is just one model. It's not a forecast, but, you know, the GFS parallel has done a relatively good job with these systems this past fall. And what we have are our early first half, maybe first third of winter. Notice that Washington, obviously Portland, Oregon, Portland would be one of the areas that would be seeing rain, but there will be snow in the higher elevations. British Columbia seeing quite a bit of snowfall into northern California. A bit of snow as well. More rain to the south, but it doesn't look to get much past central California. Notice that from these two systems, or really the first one that we have in less than 80 hours, tomorrow dropping a bit of snow across the Dakotas into Iowa. Again, some of these amounts are rather high locally. Some of these, again, models like to overdo these significantly. But I wouldn't exclude it. We've already seen several systems last year and even this year that were small, tiny, but locally dropped up to 8 inches. Now, it won't be a widespread event, but maybe even Omaha, portions of it, maybe Lincoln getting in on some of that snowfall, Kansas City, another dose of snow potentially. And then into Arkansas and southern Missouri, could be seeing, honestly, your best threats for snow across these locations of the year. I know that they did see some snow already this year, but this could be very well a more significant one. And then notice across the Carolinas, Virginia, even into northern Georgia and Alabama, a bit of snowfall. Again, some models paint the system a bit stronger than others. Now, if I were to show you the GFS parallel, the same model, but from, say, yesterday at this time frame, what it showed was heavier snow across Oklahoma and Kansas. It has now kind of basically dumped that. It's not going with that anymore, but it has remained this snow swath across these locations. Not as much across Missouri anymore, but, you know, it's still there, but these amounts right here have kind of washed away, if you will. Taking a look at another model, the European. Now, this model is a very, very interesting one, all right? Especially with the latest model run. So, let's take a look at this. This is the new model run, right? So we have our system tomorrow that is going to start taking shape across the plains into the Dakotas. This is for some reason not loading. There we go, it finally loaded. Notice that into Iowa, Nebraska, we do see that light snowfall into portions of western Missouri, eastern Kansas. We do see that snow again, Missouri, Kansas City, maybe some ice, snow at this point. The European is showing some mix, so not freezing rain, but some sleet. Again, the temperatures will be marginal. We'll have to see how this unfolds. Notice it actually brings some snow even close to southern Illinois, St. Louis maybe, southern Missouri, obviously, northern Arkansas. It does bring a bit of ice into Tennessee and Kentucky. Does not look like a major event. And notice into portions of the Appalachians of North Carolina. And again, similar to what the GFS parallel does, it does include a little slight swath of snow across the North Carolina area. Right, so that's still, regardless of what happens, it doesn't look to be a widespread significant snowstorm. Maybe for local areas, it could be rather a impressive event. But notice, it takes it far off the coast. Where the European and GFS parallel differ is this next storm right here. So again, it's relatively similar track, right, with the GFS parallel and European. European already has a bit more snowfall across Texas, though again, it combines it with the Gulf of Mexico moisture, the phasing of those two waves, similar to what the other model that we just looked at. Keeps it very, very, very far to the south. Not for long, though. Notice what it starts showing is this low pressure making a quick turn to the north. A lot of precipitation exploding out ahead of it. And notice into portions of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina potentially. Look at that, developing a lot of snow and potentially a very strong nor'easter. Notice into, again, Pennsylvania, even New Jersey. This is, again, very far out. So if you're taking a look at this and be like, New York City is going to get rain. Again, the question at this point is whether this will occur or not. The track, the timing, forget about that. That seems completely gone at this point. It's just too far out. Whether or not this will occur, I mean, you saw the GFS parallel. At this time, 180 hours out, it showed something completely else, right? The system was way off the coast. Notice with this system, very strong winds, most likely blizzard conditions. A very, very heavy snow event for much of the Northeast into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and into portions of southeastern Canada as well. Obviously, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island would be seeing threats from this if this were to occur. Now, and then notice the European does bring in that Alberta Clipper, right, like the other models do, and potentially starts forming another system for the Northeast. So, if you were to take a look at the snowfall amounts, obviously the European would look quite different from the GFS parallel once we get past that 150-hour mark, if you will. Notice, for now, relatively the same, kind of across the Dakotas, into Missouri, northern Arkansas, across the Tennessee, Kentucky, slight amounts, it seems, into portions of North Carolina. So these systems could overproduce as easily as they could underproduce. And even if it does as forecasted by the European model, there will be some amounts across Arkansas and Missouri reaching towards a 9 to even possibly higher amounts of snow, which would be a rather significant event. Same thing with the Dakotas. Look at that. Sioux City, Sioux Falls, possibly 3 to 4 inches. Well, that's not really that significant. It's an event of snow that could cause a disruption. Now, same thing with North Carolina. Look at around the 100-hour mark. It shows snow across central North Carolina, delivering 1 to 3 inches, even possibly higher amounts across the coastal area. So this is something you'll have to watch for. You may be seeing just a few flakes across northern or central North Carolina, or you may be just seeing, 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 inches of snow. So something to watch for. It looks not impressive at all, but it's definitely something that could be on the impressive side. And notice that as we push this forward, this is where we start differing. Notice more snow across Texas. There definitely still is a possibility that this snow develops across Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, like we saw with previous model runs of the GFS parallel. But notice this is where European just blows up a system, right? Obviously, the snowfall amounts would be very heavy, over foots across widespread locations, and that's assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which these amounts may be falling at a lower ratio, especially further inland. So keep your eyes peeled. The Northeast looks active, to say the least, and honestly, the rest of the country, the same story, just a bit later, probably after this system, if it does occur. Now, this isn't it, right? Let's take a look at the GFS regular. So I showed you the GFS parallel. Let's take a look at the GFS regular. This is the 18Z, so the more updated model run. Let's take a look at the snowfall amounts. Notice it does show that same track of that system. It does show a bit more across North Carolina. Notice quite a bit, so that's definitely something to watch for. So with this system occurring tomorrow, the track is pretty confident, or the confidence is high in the track. But again, the amounts are a bit all over the place, and the National Weather Service will for sure go with the conservative amounts, and that makes sense, as it's better to under forecast an event like this and over forecast, especially if the chances for that are kind of 50-50. You don't want people to be saying you overhyped anything, but either way, if it overhypes or under produces, they will be criticized, because people are always find a way to kind of say that, oh, too much was forecasted, oh, too little was forecasted. So regardless, it's something that could overproduce. Notice that as we push into portions of Sunday, late this week, right, the GFS does show snow across Texas and portions of the South with that system that then the European blows up. Again, the GFS reluctant to do that to any extent. Notice there's no nor'easter whatsoever in sight. What it does start showing is that clipper, right, across the Midwest, and then that could form into a nor'easter, which the GFS I think actually supports in a longer range. We're to take a look at this. Wait for this to load. This is tomorrow's system. Notice again, not too strong, but it will have quite a bit of moisture as it's very far to the south tracking. And if there's enough cold air, that could be a bit more snowy. Notice, like even across the coastal areas. And that spins off, and this is where the European takes that nor'easter. You can see the GFS just tears that apart. And we see a Alberta Clipper develop from the GFS model run. Notice, and that could potentially form into a nor'easter. This model run of the GFS takes it further to the north. But regardless, again, I said the pattern remains active. Notice, look at that. I mean, the upper plains, the east coast, even the southern United States, cold, snowy, seems to be the trend. Now, there's one more model I want to show you that I like to look at, the Canadian model, right? This is a bit older than the GFS. It's 6 hours older, which really isn't, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that much of a difference. Again, confident on that system tomorrow to produce some snow. The track is confident. Where and how much that snow will fall is a bit of a confusion. Notice this thing dumps quite a bit across the Appalachian Mountains. And then what we see is that system that the European brought across the Northeast, right? The GFS didn't. Well, the Canadian really doesn't either. It tries doing a northern again turn for this, but it's kind of makes it fall apart. Again, they're more confident about the Clipper system that follows the models than that nor'easter, which it seems makes sense, as this is really just moisture coming down from the north, moisture starved, and that this system down here, there's a lot of things going or working against it that could change very quick. There's a lot of variables for this one. This Clipper right here, there's less things just affecting the Midwest. Now there's more variables. Once this system tries developing a nor'easter, if it does, that could be more significant, but we're still a bit away from that. For now, again, I would say that there's definitely a chance for a southern storm and a nor'easter. Chances aren't too high, but again, they have grown, and that's an upward trend that we have to take a look at and take note of, right? Just to show you the comparison, the European model, which we already looked at, take a look at it from midnight, so 12 hours ago. It did not show that nor'easter. It did show that snow across Missouri into Arkansas to the same extent it shows it now, pretty much. And notice that with that system right here, it showed the precipitation, but again, it brought it up the coast, but it struggled to bring it any close, near to bring any sort of precipitation, rain or snow to the Northeast. And with the latest model run, it's a quite different story, as we saw. Now let's take a look at, say, the high-res models for this upcoming system that could be occurring across the Midwest these upcoming hours, or really into tomorrow, that weaker one that could drop snow across Arkansas, Missouri. This is the RDPS, the high-res Canadian, if you will, and notice what it does is, again, it starts developing this system right here. I do want to say there's going to be a storm across southern Atlantic Canada that could be dropping a bit of snowfall, quite some amounts. If it does stay and linger for a while. Notice, again, though, with this system, there's snow to the north. Not too impressive, but again, these systems do sometimes overperform. Notice as it tracks pretty far to the south, it does have abundant moisture, and it definitely could feed in some moisture into North Carolina, Virginia, and the high-res keep it the same story as other models. They take the system right off the coast. So with this storm, not really a threat of a nor'easter. It's with that second one behind this one. Taking a look at the NAM North American model, another high-resolution model we like to look at. Notice it shows this system a bit more strong, more of a snowy side to it. Does show a lot of precipitation, again, especially towards the south. Very close to the Gulf of Mexico, doesn't have to work or be strong at all to get that moisture flowing. Notice Kansas City getting some snow out of this into Missouri, southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. It does start dwindling down that snowfall, but it does pick up a bit across Georgia, maybe even the Carolinas, both included, and into Virginia. But again, it takes it well off the coast. So that's definitely something to not be concerned for the Northeast really at all. Again, it's that second system that is more of a concern. Taking a look at, say, the Icon models. So this is a German model that I have been showing for a few videos, a few weeks probably. Notice, again, same thing as all the other models show, so this is actually pretty remarkable and how confident they are, and that would make sense. It's not that far out, less than 50 hours out, depending for which location. Further out as you get towards the East Coast, and less out as you go towards the north and west. But again, a bit of snow. Virginia, North Carolina pushes it way off the coast, and from that northwest system that is going to be coming in Friday, so not the one going on right now, but a bit later. That's kind of the energy that's going to combine with the one that's going on right now. Potentially start developing this wave of a nor'easter, if you will. Again, the Icon only goes out to 120 on the 18Z model run. The model run prior to this goes out to 180 hours. And it does show, again, similar to what the other model shows, right? A lot of precipitation around that region. Sorry, it's taking a while to load, but it does not form a nor'easter as far as I'm concerned. From what I remember looking at this model, it did not form one. It did show a bit of snow, a bit more snow. Come on, if this were to load a bit quicker. Sometimes these weather models are stubborn to load, but notice, yeah, it takes it off the coast and doesn't do much with it. Doesn't do much with it at all. And it does bring a bit of snow, more than the GFS or GFS Parallel or Canadian, but still nothing like the European is showing. Now, taking a look at some model ensembles. So you know how I showed you the European and the GFS. Well, that is just one model out of many models. So this is a GEFS, 31 different models showing different things. And this is the Eastern United States, as that is where the focus for variancy is. I do apologize if it cuts it off. I know there's a lot of viewers past this region, but just for this nor'easter, let's focus on this. Notice that with this first system, generally the same confidence. Not a single model is showing a giant system. Some definitely more than others, and that could make a difference. You can see this one shows some, even half a foot plus across Virginia, but that's not going to be widespread if that occurs. Now notice there will be a bit of snow across Labrador, Newfoundland from that blizzard that's going on already across potentially southern Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. But this is the time where we could be seeing that second nor'easter. Now, if you recall, the GFS operational model did not show that system at all. But if you're to take a look at the ensemble models, right, there are a couple that show this. For example, we have this model right here, the E10, the 10th one, if you will. It shows some sort of nor'easter developing. So does this one right here. Now, there's a lot that don't. This one doesn't, this one doesn't, this one doesn't. The list goes on. But there is a few that are showing some sort of system developing. Right, and even if the system doesn't develop, again, a lot of them start showing a ton of activity in the long range, and it's rather impressive. Notice that we start seeing, again, they start splitting up. You can see they're all over the place in terms of confidence, but not many showing snows out of this first nor'easter from the GFS family, and that makes sense. The GFS operational wasn't supporting that. Now, take a look at the EPS members, right? So this is several, I think, models, if not a lot, right? So let's take it out to around that time of that system occurring. So this is our first one occurring into tonight and tomorrow. Notice the European does bring quite a bit of snow across portions of the Appalachians, even into Virginia and North Carolina. It does get pretty close across Maine with this model run. This is a specific one, but again, it doesn't look as if many other models agree with that. Now, let's start taking a look. So this is where that nor'easter starts developing. You can see this specific ensemble takes it further off coast to the point where you don't need to worry about it. Now, that's not the case with all of them. Let's run through it. So I'll keep it at hour 174, but show you different models. And I'll just show you how much they vary. So again, this is what one model shows. You can see showing nor'easter. This one off the coast. This one potentially just more delayed and weakened. Showing something very close, so possibly a nor'easter. This one shows an Alberta Clipper. Keeping it at hour 174, let's continue putting this in motion. This model run keeps, takes a storm, but off the coast. Still way further up to the north than what the GFS or GFS Parallel or Canadian show. More of maybe what the Icon model shows, the German one. And again, if I were to put this forward with this model in particular, it just takes it further off the coast. So let's bring this back and show more models. This model, weaker and off the coast, right? And these are all European ensembles. So notice this one closer onto the shore with some snow. This one really not much of anything, similar to what the GFS models are showing. This one really same story, similar story. This one on the coast this time, more of a nor'easter type potential. This one off the coast. This one a bit of snow potentially. It's a bit iffy, and notice that this one does show more snow, but towards the south across Tennessee to Carolina into Georgia, Alabama. Notice right there, potential nor'easter, maybe a bit far off the coast it seems at this point. And then as we push forward to quickly run through these, you can see there's several that do show a nor'easter right there, some that don't. Another one that shows a very major one for portions of the Carolinas and North Carolina. This one doesn't at all. I mean, look at that difference right there. That's huge. And then we have another system right there, potentially, or the same system, but from another ensemble showing that nor'easter. And let's just speed run these things. Notice there's models that show it, models that don't, and it's honestly, I would say, split half and half with a bit, maybe more models showing some sort of nor'easter type. You can see it like that, than not at all. So, definitely the confidence or the certainty in this occurring has gone up a bit in the past day or two, but notice that one shows something, this one does as well, this one nothing. This one doesn't really show of anything at all. Potentially the start of one across Florida. This one shows a bit of a nor'easter, so does this one. This one early stages, and the rest are kind of also in between that. So again, a lot of variance, potential for very heavy snow, and even if the system doesn't occur, if I were to show you the 15-day snowfall from all these models, this is, again, each model run different, but you can see it shows a lot of snow. There's some models that show a bit less, but most models range from around this to, some that do show that nor'easter obviously show more snow across the coastal areas. See, like, for example, right there. But even a system like this, this one would drop again quite a bit of snow. So again, we'll just have to keep an eye on for this. As of now, this is it for today's video, guys. But thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.